Many people think that the lives celebrities lead are nothing but glamour, adoration from their fans, and opulence. But we're seldom privy to the struggles that they face every day, and the obstacles that they overcame to get where they are. Some of those struggles have resulted in some strange conspiracy theories that often take years or decades to disprove, though many are so outlandish that they're quickly dismissed by most fans, despite conspiracy theorists' best efforts to keep these theories alive. Number 10. There's no doubt that Tupac Shakur left an indelible mark on the world of rap music, and his passing at 25 is one that's still shrouded in mystery, since there are conflicting accounts of what happened on the night that his life was ended with a firearm. Tupac was born in New York in 1971, and was named after a Peruvian revolutionary called Tupac Amaru II. His family didn't stay in one place for long, but eventually decided to settle in Baltimore. He was seen as a bright student while attending the Baltimore School for the Arts, but before he could graduate, his family uprooted once again and moved to California. This is where his life took a different path, as he became involved with the sale of illegal substances and gangs in the area. This time would, however, serve as a great source of inspiration for his music. In 1991, he released his debut album, called Tupacalypse Now, which resulted in his style being compared to artists like Public Enemy and NWA, and the album made a good impression amongst other rappers. Shortly after the release of the album, he landed his first movie role in an urban crime drama called Juice. The following year, he appeared in Poetic Justice alongside Janet Jackson, and the year after that, he released another album, and it became clear that he was headed for a successful career, whether in music or film. Unfortunately, Tupac remained affiliated with gangs, and in 1994 he was arrested for assault. He would still be in prison when his next album was released, but after spending 8 months behind bars, he was released on parole. His next album sold more than 5 million copies in the first year after its release, and he would go on to appear in 2 more movies called Bullet and Gridlocked. Then, in September of 1997, Tupac was spending time in Las Vegas, where he'd watched a Mike Tyson bout at one of the city's many casinos. Upon leaving the casino in a vehicle, he was accosted and fired upon. He was rushed to the hospital but passed away 6 days later. Most people believe that the attack was the result of an ongoing dispute between the East and West Coast rappers, but others believe there's more to it, with some believing he didn't actually lose his life that night. Some conspiracy theorists have suggested that Tupac hatched an elaborate plan to fake his own passing, and that he's currently alive and well living in Cuba. 2 people were named as suspects in the attack, namely the rapper Notorious B.I.G. and Crips gang member Orlando Anderson, but they also soon lost their lives in a similar manner, adding fuel to the conspiracy fire. Some tabloid media outlets have repeatedly reported that Tupac had been sighted in different areas of Cuba, and people have suggested different methods by which he could have faked his own passing, and some believe he got word that a rival was planning an attack, which prompted him to switch with a body double before fleeing the country via helicopter. One man named Rick Boss claims that Tupac is no longer in Cuba and is actually hiding out in New Mexico. He created a documentary called Tupac: The Great Escape from UMC, and when the rapper's family didn't object to the title, he became convinced that Tupac was still alive. Others have claimed that he's living in Malaysia, where he continues to make music, and at one point, a theory emerged that he would return to the spotlight 7 years after his supposed passing. But this never happened, and it's far more likely that he did really pass away on that fateful night, ensuring that his legacy will forever live amongst his fans and the rap industry. Number 9. Beyoncé has been the subject of many conspiracy theories over the years, and in recent times, a new theory has emerged regarding her sister, Solange, who found success as a singer and actress. Some of the more outlandish theories that have been suggested regarding Beyoncé include strange and often baseless claims about her marriage to Jay-Z, who's also a hugely successful rapper in his own right. The first to be suggested was that the couple only got married because Beyoncé was lonely, and that she didn't really find him attractive. While this may seem like a ridiculous claim, the theory only gained further traction in 2013, when her uncle stated in an interview with Celeb Buzz that she denied being with Jay-Z at first, and that the suggestion seemed to disgust her. Furthermore, it's been claimed that the couple decided to get married for financial reasons, since they're both very successful musicians and would see their fan bases expand as a result. In 2014, the pair embarked on a joint tour called On the Run, and as soon as it started, speculation began to run rife that they would be getting a divorce as soon as the tour was wrapped up. That was meant to happen a decade ago, and so that theory has been thoroughly debunked, despite it being backed up by some people who were close to them at the time. One weekly tabloid paper reported that Beyoncé had been spending time with actress Gwyneth Paltrow, who she then asked for advice about divorce, but the couple is still together and seems to be as happy as ever. But a few more sinister conspiracy theories have also made the rounds through the decades. Some people are still adamant that Beyoncé is a member of the Illuminati, with some theorists going as far as to suggest that she's Satan himself, though most people find this suggestion laughable. At one point, it was also claimed that Jay-Z was cheating on his wife with another singer, Rihanna. The rumor started thanks to security footage from an elevator in which Beyoncé's sister was seen attacking Jay-Z. It later came to light that the rapper wanted to attend an after-party hosted by Rihanna, but Beyoncé's sister, Solange, wanted him to go home. She could be heard asking why he couldn't just go home, to which he replied, "You're one to talk," prompting the rest of the altercation. Following this, another theory came to light that Solange isn't actually Beyoncé's sister, but her daughter. For this theory to work, people started claiming that the singer is actually 7 years older than she claims, and that she gave birth to Solange when she was still a teenager. The theory started online when someone who claimed to have worked at Beyoncé's record label for about 4 years stated their claims were backed up by Beyoncé's cousin, and that they'd caught a glimpse of her driver's license, which showed her actual age to be much older than her fans have been led to believe. No actual proof of any of these theories has ever been presented, and as with most conspiracy theories, they shouldn't be taken too seriously. Number 8. The identity of the Zodiac Killer. A serial killer who's said to have ended the lives of at least 5 people between 1968 and 1969 is one of the greatest mysteries of our time. But modern conspiracy theorists believe he's been hiding in plain sight for many years, since United States Senator Ted Cruz is the culprit. It's believed that the Zodiac Killer's first 2 victims were a teenage couple that was attacked with a firearm in a remote area close to San Francisco. He wouldn't strike again until a year later, when another couple was attacked in near-identical circumstances, though one of the victims survived. Following this incident, the culprit contacted the police to report the crime, and to state that he was responsible for the attack that had been carried out a year earlier. He would then wait another year before carrying out another attack, and again, one of the victims escaped with their life. Then, in 1969, he attacked and ended the life of a taxi driver, and while most people believe him to be the Zodiac's last victim, others think that an 18-year-old student whose life was ended with a sharpened blade in California in 1968 should also be attributed to him, though his involvement in that case has never been fully proven. Whoever the killer was, he was clearly enjoying the attention his crimes were getting. Between 1969 and 1974, he sent letters to the police in which he taunted them. The letters were always signed with the same trademark symbol, and started with the words, "This is the Zodiac speaking." He also sent 4 different ciphers to newspaper outlets, 2 of which have since been solved, but offered up no clues as to the attacker's identity. While it's assumed that the Zodiac spree ended here, some suggested that he remained active into the 1980s, and that the number of victims is actually much higher. A California schoolteacher called Arthur Leigh Allen, at one point, was accused by the public of being the culprit, but no proof was ever found that he was in any way involved, and the Zodiac's identity remains a mystery to this day. But conspiracy theorists aren't so sure. The first rumors that Ted Cruz was the Zodiac Killer came about after a Twitter user claimed that during one of his upcoming speeches, Cruz would be confessing to the world that he was the killer. Following this, many people who listened to his public addresses stated that they found him to be creepy, and his popularity started to decline. But Cruz took these allegations in stride, choosing to see them as a joke rather than claims that were to be taken seriously. In 2017 and 2018, he posted to his Twitter account and included encrypted messages that were clearly supposed to be tongue-in-cheek references to the Zodiac Killer. But this only gave the theory more traction, as some theorists started believing he was once again taunting people with these strange messages. It's been pointed out that the Zodiac's first victims lost their lives by his hand in 1969, when Cruz would have been 18 years old, and that the actual culprit was thought to be much older at the time. The theory has since all but died out, but there are a few conspiracy theorists who insist that Cruz is guilty and hiding in plain sight. These days, the entire saga is seen as a bit of a joke that somehow got out of hand. Number 7. Norma Jean Baker, better known to most people as Marilyn Monroe, was born in Los Angeles on the 1st of June 1926. During her childhood, she was placed in 12 different foster homes since her mother spent a lot of time in a mental health facility, and when she wasn't in foster care, she lived in an orphanage. She would marry for the first time in 1942 while working in an aircraft factory, but the marriage only lasted a few years before it ended in divorce. Following this, she decided to enter the world of modeling, and in 1946, her efforts paid off when she was offered a contract with 20th Century Fox. This is when she changed her name to Marilyn Monroe, but after appearing in a few unremarkable movies, her contract came to an end. She continued her modeling career and soon landed several noteworthy film roles. She found her first taste of fame in 1950 after briefly appearing in a movie called The Asphalt Jungle. And when she appeared in All About Eve, she landed another contract with 20th Century Fox. Soon, she started acting in films alongside movie stars of the time, and before long, she became known as a love goddess, thanks to the way she was marketed by the film studio. She'd become a household name across the world, and in 1954, she became even more popular when she married Joe DiMaggio, who was one of the New York Yankees' star players at the time. This marriage would only last for about a year, and following this, her life started to take a strange turn. She was no longer content with the path of her life, and instead turned her focus to becoming a comedian. In 1959, she appeared in her first serious role as the character of Sugarcane in the film Some Like It Hot. By this time, she was married to playwright Arthur Miller, and in 1961, she appeared in a film directed by him called The Misfits. Miller had written the role specifically for his wife, but the process put a strain on their marriage and they divorced in 1961. Her health started to decline amidst rumors that she was having an affair with then-President of the US, John F. Kennedy. She was fired from the film Something's Got to Give, and this seemingly had a big impact on her, as she retreated from the public eye, by many accounts becoming somewhat of a recluse. On the 4th of August, 1962, she was found deceased in her house in Los Angeles, and her passing was ruled to be the result of illegal substance use. But thousands of people refute this to this day, resulting in many conspiracy theories being born. The first of these was the suggestion that her life was ended by the CIA, since they wanted revenge on the Kennedy family after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion which took place in Cuba. Theorists claimed that the CIA knew about an affair between Monroe and Kennedy and felt that her passing would impact the family negatively. The second theory stems from the first, as it's been suggested that Kennedy had Monroe assassinated because he was worried that she would talk publicly about their affair, which would have a serious negative impact on his political career. Then there's the theory that she lost her life thanks to the incompetence of her doctors, who accidentally gave her too much medication, leading to her passing. It's said that these same doctors and Monroe's housekeeper then conspired to make the scene look as if she'd ended her own life. The last and most outlandish of these theories is that Monroe had to be assassinated after she learned of the existence of extraterrestrials while having an affair with John F. Kennedy. Theorists claim that she was planning to leak information about the infamous Roswell crash of 1947, but never had the chance. It's also been suggested that her life was ended by the mafia, but most of these theories have been dismissed as false, though many questions about the night of her passing remain unanswered. Number 6. Kurt Cobain is remembered as one of the most famous faces of the grunge era, which only lasted for a short period of time in the 1990s. His band Nirvana is seen as one of the most influential in the genre, along with other bands such as Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden. His unique vocal style resonated with fans, and to date, 3 studio albums that they released have sold more than 75 million copies. But it's no secret that Cobain had a turbulent life, filled with substance abuse, depression, and problems in his marriage to fellow musician Courtney Love, who was the frontwoman for a band called Hole. His parents have stated that his troubles began when he was 9 years old, and are likely a result of their divorce. Cobain once said in an interview that he felt sorry for his parents at the time, but also resented them, since he felt ashamed when compared to other children in his school who didn't live in broken homes. According to some reports, he started using illegal substances to deal with the pain in his stomach that lasted for years, since doctors couldn't figure out what the cause was. Before long, he became addicted, and would remain this way for the rest of his life. On the 5th of April 1994, he was found deceased at his house in Seattle, Washington. An investigation revealed that he had taken his own life with a firearm, and the news sent shockwaves through the music world. It was seen as a tragic and avoidable event that curtailed a very promising career. But not everyone was convinced that the official findings were truthful, and soon conspiracy theories started swirling that there was more to Cobain's passing. The most prominent of these is that his life was ended by none other than his wife, Courtney Love, despite this claim being refuted by detectives, a forensic linguist, and the band's manager. Another theory suggested that Cobain did indeed end his own life, but that he was too depressed to do so himself and asked someone to assist him. This theory hasn't gained much traction, but some theorists still believe it to be a possibility. Then there's the theory that he was somehow being manipulated via mind control, either by the government or someone who decided that it would be better if his life was ended. This is one of the less popular theories and isn't often spoken about. Next, it was suggested that he hadn't intended to end his life, but accidentally discharged the firearm that was found with him. This theory is easily dismissed thanks to the note that was found when Cobain's body was discovered. Furthermore, it's been suggested that the government wanted Cobain out of the way, since he was a symbol of counterculture at the time, and needed to be silenced before the band's fanbase grew too large. While most people have accepted that Cobain ended his life by his own hand, thousands of people are convinced that something more sinister happened on the day that he passed away, but will likely never know what he was thinking at the time, or whether someone else was involved in his tragic passing. Number 5. Eminem, the rapper whose real name is Marshall Mathers, didn't have the easiest of childhoods. He grew up in a poor family and had a difficult relationship with his mother Debbie, who would successfully sue him for defamation of character many years later thanks to a song he released that included details of his troubled upbringing. He started rapping in Detroit, Michigan when he was 14 years old, and when it became clear that he didn't have much interest in completing school, he dropped out and decided to focus on his rapping career. In 1996, he released his first album entitled Infinite, but it wasn't well received, and he had to resort to making money by working as a dishwasher and a cook. The following year, though, things started to look up, as he won second place in the 1997 Rap Olympics, which were held in Los Angeles. This drew the attention of rapper Dr. Dre, who then became his mentor and producer. In 1997, he released the Slim Shady LP, on which the song My Name Is appeared. The song and its accompanying music video were huge successes, and the album sold millions of copies, won him 2 Grammy Awards, and Mathers knew that he'd finally made it as a musician, though he had many detractors who thought his music was shallow, and in some cases prejudiced. Nevertheless, his career was on track, and in the years that followed, he gained a massive fan base and sold millions of albums while collaborating with some of the genre's biggest and most influential artists. He remains popular among fans of the genre today, but has also become the focus of a conspiracy theory, which claims that the man who appears as Eminem today is actually an imposter. It all started in 2006, when some of his fans started noticing that his voice wasn't quite the same as it was in the past. While most people would attribute this to the fact that he was getting older, or years of constant touring, some conspiracy theorists had a more bizarre explanation. They suggested that the real Eminem, Marshall Mathers, passed away in 2006, thanks to an article published on a Spanish website, which falsely claimed that he had lost his life in a car accident. Some fans then started looking for proof that he'd been replaced by a doppelganger, and before long, online forums were awash with photos that, according to them, showed how the imposter's features were different from the real Slim Shady's. They focused mostly on his facial features, such as his jawline, which in their opinion was no longer as sharp as it once was. Though this is a common occurrence when someone gets older, and in no way points to him being replaced. Next, they started analyzing his lyrics, which they felt had taken on a different tone from the ones he'd written before 2006. Conspiracy theorists had now started suggesting that he'd been replaced, not by another man, but by an android, as strange as that may seem. This theory only gained more followers when a video emerged online in 2013, showing the rapper glitching out during an appearance on ESPN, while others felt that his behavior in the clip was true to Eminem's character. Then, in 2016, a fellow rapper called B.O.B. took to Twitter with a series of posts in which he claimed that human cloning had existed for a long time. Some conspiracy theorists took this as an allusion to Eminem and took it as further proof that he had been replaced. Luckily, most people believe the changes in Mather's appearance to be the result of the aging process, and his new lyrical style to be thanks to him becoming more mature as time went by. But there are still many who are adamant that he's actually an android. Number 4. Marissa Tomei is best remembered for her role in the 1992 film My Cousin Vinnie. But not many are aware that she started her acting career after landing a role in a soap opera called As the World Turns, which remained on the air for a staggering 54 years, from 1956 to 2010. Her first movie role was in a film called The Flamingo Kid, and she made a few appearances in theater productions in New York, before finally landing a role in My Cousin Vinnie. Many people were taken by surprise when Tomei had won an Academy Award for her appearance in the movie, though that success didn't immediately translate to bigger movie roles. After winning the award, she appeared in films alongside actors such as Christian Slater, Jenna Rollins, and Adam Sandler. She has also appeared in a few movies that tanked at the box office, most of which were comedies that failed to impress audiences. Unfortunately, one of her most remembered moments is her 1993 Best Supporting Actress Oscar win, which has spawned several conspiracy theories over the years, since some people believe it was a mistake. Tomei faced stiff competition at the awards, since other more established actresses had also been nominated, but in the end, Tomei was announced the winner, much to the surprise of those in attendance and fans watching from their living rooms. Many felt that the award wasn't deserved, and soon conspiracy theories started to see the light of day. Many thought a mistake had been made, and put the blame for the incident squarely on the shoulders of the man who presented the award, Jack Palance, who was 74 years old at the time. Those who believed in the theory suggested that he had difficulty reading the winner's name from the card that he'd been given, and he started panicking and just blurted out the last name on the teleprompter, resulting in Tomei walking away as the victor. It's further said that the Academy was too embarrassed to admit to the mistake, and decided that it would be better to leave sleeping dogs lie, and it would only cause further controversy if the Oscar was taken away from her. According to some sources, the theory started thanks to someone who was said to be the former son-in-law of a distinguished Academy Award winner, who claimed to have inside information that the award had been erroneously awarded to Tomei. This person's name was never made public, and this claim is thought by most people to be a sensationalist lie. Many others have pointed out that similar mistakes have been made at the awards at times, which were then corrected, and it would then have been far easier to admit the mistake rather than cover it up. Whatever the case may be, Tomei will forever hold the title of Best Supporting Actress for that year, and if she was announced as the winner by mistake, it's far too late to do anything about it. Number 3. Another celebrity whose passing has been the subject of conspiracy theories for decades is the famous reggae musician Bob Marley, who passed away on the 11th of May, 1981, at the age of 36 due to melanoma. Marley was born in St. Ann Parish, Jamaica in 1945. His father was never part of his life and passed away when Marley was just 10 years old. He and his mother eventually relocated to Jamaica, but there he was bullied while living in a poor neighborhood. This led to him learning how to fight on the streets, and before long he earned the nickname Tough Gong. It would later become the name of his recording studio, as well as several other businesses that he owned. It's said that while he was still a child, he became adept at palm reading, often telling the fortunes of people in his neighborhood with eerie accuracy. But after he relocated to Kingston, he refused to read any more palms, as he decided to pursue a career as a musician. Not many people know that he didn't make a start to his career in reggae, but rather started a ska band with Bunny Wailer and fellow reggae legend Peter Tosh. The band was first called the Teenagers, before undergoing several iterations, and eventually they settled on the name the Wailers. He lived in the US for short periods of time during the 1960s and 70s, landing a job as a forklift operator at the Chrysler Assembly Plant in Newark, Delaware. He decided to move to the US after his mother moved to Delaware, but he soon moved back to the Caribbean. He got married to Alfreda Anderson in 1966, and they stayed married until his passing in 1981, despite both having affairs over the years, and his wife giving birth to 2 children who were fathered by other men. In December of 1976, he was found wounded when a group of 7 men stormed his house during an assassination attempt that was carried out for political reasons. Several other people were injured, but thankfully everyone recovered. Despite his massive popularity among his fans, he was seen as a controversial figure by many, since he was outspoken about his political views and atrocities that had been carried out in the past by governments of the world. In July of 1977, Marley was diagnosed with malignant melanoma, which started under one of his toenails. Those who were close to him stated that he fought against the disease as best he could, but 4 years later, he sadly lost the battle and passed away. Conspiracy theorists claim that the attack on his household years earlier was ordered by the CIA, since they disagreed with his political stance, and since tensions between the Jamaican Labour Party, which was supported by the CIA, and the People's National Party were at an all-time high. It's also been claimed that they attempted further assassination attempts, but that these failed each time. It was believed that a former CIA agent named Billy Oxley only exacerbated this theory when he claimed to have carried out as many as 17 hits for the CIA during his career, one of which, according to him, was Bob Marley, who was injected with a cancer-causing substance. But it was later revealed that no agent named Bill Oxley ever worked for the CIA, and that the claims had all been fabricated by a fake news website, which was promptly shut down, bringing into question all the other conspiracy theories regarding Marley's passing. Today, Marley is remembered for his music that's inspired generations of musicians, and continues to do so today. He passed away more than 4 decades ago, but he still sells more records than many well-known artists each year, proving that his legacy will remain intact for many decades to come. Number 2. It's said that there are 2 types of people in this world: those who are fans of the High School Musical TV series Glee, and those who hate it. While it may not be to everyone's taste, there's no doubt that the show has millions of fans all over the world. And while it was on air, it became somewhat of a phenomenon. It ran for a total of 6 seasons, and included some very famous names in its cast, including Naya Rivera, Lea Michele, Corey Monteith, and Adam Lambert, to name but a few. But as popular as the show was, it had its troubles, and conspiracy theorists have suggested that the production was cursed, thanks to several unfortunate events that befell some of its cast members. The first of these occurred in 2011, when Corey Monteith admitted that he'd been struggling with an illegal substance addiction, and as a result, dropped out of high school when he was 16 years old. He was admitted to a rehab facility when he was 19, but would return to similar facilities in subsequent years. Unfortunately, he was never able to overcome his addiction, and in July of 2013, it claimed his life. Another cast member, Mark Salling, also had a difficult life after appearing in the show. In 2013, Roxanne Gorzela, his ex-girlfriend, sued him after he assaulted her, and in 2015, he was arrested on such a disturbing charge that we can't even mention it here. He pleaded guilty to that charge, and thanks to a plea deal, he was slated to spend 4 to 7 years behind bars. But he never served this sentence, as he ended his own life in January of 2018 at the age of 35. Then, in 2020, Samantha Marie Ware came forward to report that her co-star on the show, Lea Michele, had made her life awful while they were working together. She stated that Michelle was verbally abusive towards her, along with what she described as other microaggressions that made her question her career choice as an actress. This resulted in other cast members coming forward to reveal just how hard it was to work with Michelle, since she was said to be an unpleasant person. She allegedly refused to let certain cast members sit at her table, as she felt that they didn't deserve to be on the show. Others claimed that she was disrespectful towards them, calling them ugly to their faces, and one co-star Craig Ramsey went as far as to call her a despicable, horrible human being who lost touch with reality. Michelle eventually offered an apology to everyone involved, but it was dismissed by most as being insincere and scripted. It's said that this had an adverse effect on her career, as she lost out on several business deals. Other events that led to the belief in the Glee curse include Becca Tobin, whose boyfriend passed away from a heart attack in 2014. Matthew Morrison lost his job as a judge on the show So You Think You Can Dance amidst accusations that he'd started a relationship with one of the contestants. In 2020, Naya Rivera lost her life while swimming at Lake Peru and the Los Padres National Forest. Blake Jenner was arrested and charged with DUI 2 years later. And over the years, cast members have been involved in several failed relationships, leading to many believing that the Glee curse is very real. Number 1. Jimmy Page, the guitarist for the band Led Zeppelin, is sure to go down in history as one of the most influential and talented rock musicians of all time. The band has sold more than 300 million albums during their long career, ensuring their legacy as one of the best-selling artists of all time. Their most famous song, released in 1971, is entitled Stairway to Heaven, and at the time it made a massive impact on the rock scene. But in the 1980s, it received even more attention, thanks to the Satanic Panic, which claimed that rock bands were hiding evil lyrics in their songs, which could only be heard when they were played backward, a process known as backmasking. Led Zeppelin was first mentioned in this regard by a preacher called Michael Mills, who claimed that Stairway to Heaven contained hidden messages, such as Master Satan, and There's No Escaping It, and Serve Me. Following this, another preacher named Paul Crouch claimed to have found different messages in the band's songs, including one which he stated contained a message about a small tool shed, where the devil made people suffer. Luckily, many people saw past this as a thinly veiled attempt to discredit rock music, and it was pointed out that these words and these messages rarely sounded correct, and these two preachers were looking for evil where there was none. Nonetheless, many people fell for it and started playing albums by other bands backward, claiming to hear all kinds of messages that simply weren't there. This also led to another conspiracy theory that's still very much alive today, that Jimmy Page sold his soul to the devil in exchange for proficiency at guitar playing and fame as a musician. The band took little notice of these claims, and they've refused to speak about them in interviews, but this has only caused the theory to grow, since many people took this to mean that they'd been caught and didn't want to discuss the matter. It didn't help things when Page bought a manor in the Scottish Highlands. While this may not seem like anything strange, it soon came to light that the house once belonged to Aleister Crowley, a known occultist who's said to have performed certain magic ceremonies at the property. The manor is rumored to be haunted by the spirits of its past owners, and it's burned down twice over the years, but is currently being restored and is still a Category B listed building, which means it's considered to be historically important. The theories regarding Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page are sure to continue for many years to come, but as always, they should be taken with a grain of salt. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.